I think I have 30 minutes to explain to you how to edit your first DJ video before I have to get up and start helping with dinner. A delicious dinner, by the way. So if you want to follow along, you can click the link in the description, which is a guide. I've made a Google Doc that you can just copy and make for yourself to follow along this video. It's a checklist, so it breaks down all the steps that I'm going to go over right now, from importing your media and organizing it to editing and cutting and color and sound and the export settings. But I'm going to set a timer for 30 minutes because I think that's the time I have to explain as much as I can about editing your first DJ video in DaVinci Resolve. Timer set to 30 and it's running. So if you opened up the checklist, the first item you'll see is to organize your media. So that's going to be to create your folders. I'm assuming you've already downloaded your media, your videos, and your audio, maybe from your external recorder, or it's already in your computer from your DJ software. And we're going to organize them into these folders. This is how I like to do it: by clips, by audio, maybe graphics. You have a logo, and I like to number them 1, 2, 3, so they show up in order in Finder. So let's do that right now. So I've already downloaded my footage. I put it into this folder called New Mix, and here you can see I have my WAV file from my external recorder. I also have my camera A, this wide angle. This is shot with the Sony a7 IV. And I played the music loud in the room so I could hear it also, and this is gonna help us sync them together. And here's camera B, another a7 IV, also wide angle and closer to me. And we won't use this today, but for this video, I also recorded with a GoPro Hero 11, close to the mix, showing my hands and the knobs and the buttons. So let's organize this like the guide says. 1 for clips. You can call these footage, videos, whatever you want to do. And audio. So we can just drag and drop. And then I'll select all of these. So usually for my projects, I also organize these into different camera angles or camera names, but we'll keep it simple for now. You get the idea. Great. Let's see what's the next item. So we've done these and we've placed them in the correct order. And now it's time to jump into DaVinci Resolve. So if you haven't heard of DaVinci Resolve, it's a great software. It's free. This is one of the things I like about it. I left the link there so you can click on it. I've used it for years. One of the things I like is that I think its user interface is very friendly and easy to learn. There's lots of tutorials on YouTube, and there's many people that are a lot better at this than I am. But you can download it here, free download. And honestly, you're gonna have all the things that you need to get started. If you want more and you're a pro and you're sort of limited on what it can do, you can pay to get the studio. But honestly, I think the free version is going to do you right. You can select which operating system you're on. Now, it is DaVinci Resolve 20. It just came out, so I think it still has some bugs. And I recommend downloading and installing an older version of Resolve. To do that, you can go all the way down to Support Center. And then on the left side where it says Latest Downloads, you can scroll down to March 21st and you'll see DaVinci Resolve 19.1.4. So that's the version that I'm currently using until they fix some bugs with 20. It's going to be really cool. It has AI features and a bunch of stuff that's going to make editing super fun. So you need to download and install. And once you've installed it, you can open it up. So here I have it, DaVinci Resolve 19. Okay, great. And we're going to import the folders. So we need to get there first. The local database is basically like your master folder where you have all your project files. The project files are just the files that tell DaVinci Resolve where your media is and how you've manipulated it. But it doesn't actually contain any of your clips. Your clips and your media files are wherever they are in your hard drive. So, but in here I can make folders with different projects. And here are my tutorials. You can organize them into folders and rename them and whatnot. You can make duplicates if you don't want to mess that up. So we're going to start with an untitled project. You can click on it and hit open or double click. And welcome to Resolve. So really quick, just to go over the user interface. it kind of has a nice workflow from left to right. So the first tab here at the bottom is media. This is where you organize and import your media. Then it's the cut page where you can make like a rough cut and start importing your media files. The edit page is where I spend most of the time in. This is where I start to add transitions and make more precise edits. The Fusion page we're not going to talk about today, but this is basically where you can design digital media assets like titles and exciting movement and things like that. But we are going to talk about the color page. This is where we're going to look at how to manipulate the style or the look of your video. And the Fairlight page, which is the audio sort of console where you can mix and master the audio. And finally, the Deliver page, where we're going to talk about the settings to export before uploading to YouTube. So let's go back to the media page to import our files. You can browse up here. If you don't see this, click on media storage. And I'm going to go find that folder in the new mix. And here's the clips. You can also go into Finder and drag them into DaVinci Resolve, and that's also super easy. So here I can preview it here in this window. So for now, I'm just going to download or import 1 and 2. And it asks me if I want to change the project frame rate. So this is because the project frame rate by default is set to some kind of frame rate that actually I don't know what it is right now, but it's DaVinci Resolve is basically saying, hey, your media is at this frame rate. Do you want to match the project frame rate to that? So I'm going to go ahead and say yes, change. And here you see it's at 23.97. So basically 24 frames a second. That's a whole nother video. I can explain later why that is, why they don't match. And here I'm going to drag my audio file. And it's also at 23.97. So we have the 3 things we need to get started. Let's see what's on the checklist. Oh, and then we need to create the matching bins. Let me move this over here because we don't need it anymore. Great. So a few ways to do this. You can right click and in the empty space and create a new bin, and that lets you rename it. So we could do this as clips. Or, now I can drag and drop. Or you can select the media, right click, and then create bin with selected clips. And then I can go over here and rename it. So there's the master and then different folders. Great, let's check that off the list. And we're done with step 1. How much time do we have? 23 minutes. Let's continue on. So step 2, create timeline and sync audio. So we're going to create a new timeline and drag in our main camera clip and audio file. So let's do that. So you can right click and just create a new timeline right there. Or you can simply go to the cut or media page, cut or edit page, find the file that you want to start out with. So I'm going to double click to preview 1. By the way, in the cut page, when you preview, you can scroll through the clip and you can also set an in point and an out point. Obviously for this, I want to keep everything. So I'm going to drag and drop, and that's going to drop it into track 1 right there. By the way, all the pages down here are the same project file. So it doesn't matter which viewer you're in, you're going to see all the items living in those same tracks. So video 1 and audio 1 go together. So when you move them to track 2, it goes to audio 2. And you can scroll here. You can grab the end and move it here. You can use this blade tool to make cuts. I'm going to undo those. You can hit here to see the whole timeline, or you can zoom in. You can also zoom in further. You can make the tracks taller, like the audio page, and now you can see the waveform. I like to use command and scroll wheel on my mouse to zoom in. Okay. And the next thing was to also drag in your audio file. So let's do that in the second track of audio. Let's go to the audio folder and grab that and drop it in. Great. So now I want to see what I'm doing. And I know that the next step is to match them. So here I was testing some audio and then I kind of restarted. So maybe I can use that moment right there where the music drops to try to match them. So I'm kind of looking at the transients here where it's loud. kind of where the beat hits. And then now I can just jump and listen and see how they sound together. Great, so we're listening on track 1 to just the scratch audio from the camera. And now the clean mix from the external audio recorder. And I think they sound pretty good. I think they're in time with each other. This is good for now. So I'm just gonna keep the camera audio muted and then maybe just call this the main mix. Great, this is a great time to save your project file. New mix. And go to our checklist. So we've done this one and we've aligned the audio with the audio cues and we've disabled the camera's onboard audio track. We can look at the multiple camera angles. So we're gonna stack the second camera clip on video track 2. So let's do that. We're gonna go to clips, scroll over, make sure I'm grabbing B. Yes, this is the one I want. And I'm gonna drag to track 2. But look what's happening. The audio is actually overlaying and replacing the main mix that I already had. So I don't wanna do that, I don't wanna lose that. What I like to do is right click and add a stereo track. And because it added it to 3, I'm just gonna move my main mix down 1. Oh, I moved it up. There we go. So now track 2 is empty and it's available for my second video clip to take that space. Think of these as layers. If you've ever used Photoshop, sort of the same concept. Whatever track is on top is what you'll see. Okay, I'm gonna find the same spots here and looks like I need to make it a little shorter so I can move it back. Oh no, forward. Great. So I'm trying to match these moments here. Okay, it's pretty close. Now, we're working with frames here. So I can only go 1 frame forward or back. So it may be that they're not exactly the same. But I think what matters most is that the music matches what we're seeing. So I'm just gonna replace this. Great, and I'm gonna take a listen. Okay, so we should be hearing camera 2 and the main mix. That sounds pretty good. I'm convinced. So I'm gonna mute track 2 and just keep the main mix. Great, another great spot to save the project and check off stack 2 and the sync. And lastly, use the color labels to keep things organized. So what I like to do is go here, right click, select that clip, and then go to clip color and change it to something else that is contrasted so I can keep track of which is which. Great. That means we finished step 2. Congratulations. How much time do we have? 17 minutes. She's almost home. All right. Step 3 is to look at the cut and fade and transition. So we're going to use the blade tool, which I just showed you, and look at a video transition like across the solve, for example. So once again, you can use this blade tool to make cuts. I've also gone ahead and I went up to keyboard customization and I programmed my keyboard so that the letter S is also that same function. So if I move the cursor, I can just hit S and make as many cuts as I want, like that. Okay, if you didn't want to cut, you can delete it, but just hitting backspace, selecting it first. And then once you've made a cut, you can also adjust the timing of that. So you can move these around. Okay, so that's the blade tool. Let's look at how we can use like across the solve, for example. So the first thing that you need to know is right now we're only going to be able to see track 2 because it's the layer on top. But if I hit D, if I select a clip and hit D, that deactivates it, so it hides it. So now we're seeing 1 and then 2. So this you could delete, but I don't recommend that. Keep it in time. you can just deactivate it. And now what we can do is start to add some transitions. So maybe right now it's just gonna go from one cut to the other. We can add a fade in at the beginning of this second clip, so it sort of transitions into it. And that's just a change in opacity. But we can also go to effects and look at some of the video transitions on their toolbox. So for example, this additive dissolve, I can just drag and drop right here in the transition. Let me zoom in, and you can drag and change the time that it takes to transition. And let's look at that. So it's very similar, sort of like a dissolve into track 2, and it adds to. Now what I can do is, while it's selected, the transition effect, command copy, and then I can just jump, select the other points and just paste them. So this is a quick way to just copy over all the different edits. You know, there's more, but we don't have time for that. You get the idea. Well, this one, it's not deactivated. Maybe we'll deactivate some, so we have sort of every other. Let's look at it real quick. We have less than 15 minutes. All right, that's good. Let's save again, and let's look at our checklist. Cut between camera angles by enabling and disabling the stack track. So that's what I just explained. You can press D to do that quickly. And we can apply some audio fade-ins and fade-outs. So same idea, you're just gonna work on the audio. Here, I had some accidental cuts I can just delete. So maybe what we wanna do first is find the beginning of the mix. So we can go over here, and I think it's right around here where you can see my finger, hit play, and everything starts. So just gonna hit S a couple times, and maybe I'll deactivate everything on the left side. So this is sort of the beginning, the true beginning of my video, and everything on the left side I don't really need anymore. So I can either delete them or just deactivate them, and I can just go to that spot here and hit I for endpoint. So now this is sort of telling DaVinci Resolve, this is the start of the video. Maybe we could do that at the end. I'm gonna do some cuts, deactivate that. And now that I have that spot, I can look in the mix and make sure that maybe I have a nice fade out. I think I just moved it. By the way, if you don't want that to happen, you see how that moved? You can lock the track. So now, even if I click around, I can't move it. But then that means you can't edit the fade. So be careful when you're clicking around the track. Make sure you don't move it. All right. And in the inspector, we can reposition or scale clips as needed. So 12.5 minutes left. Let's look at that. So maybe, for example, I know that to look at this, I'm gonna disable all of track 2. So right now, just with one button, I can hide that. So I'm looking at camera A, track 1, and I noticed that it's a little bit off tilt. So once it's selected, if you don't see the inspector window up here on the top right, just click inspector. And on the video, I have some controls like the transform. I can zoom in, zoom out. By double clicking, I can reset, or you can click this reset button here, which resets that parameter, or the top right one, which resets all the parameters under that category. So what I want to fix here is the rotation angle. So I'm going to go a little bit clockwise, just going to rough it in. And obviously, because we kind of rotated, I've revealed some of the black down here. So I'm also going to zoom in to kind of get rid of that. I think it was centered. Yep. Maybe zoom in a little bit more. And maybe it doesn't need to be corrected that much. Okay, pretty happy with that. I'm going to save. So we looked at the inspector and reposition. By the way, if you haven't checked out my DJ videos, you can go to No Diego No. The link is right here. You can click on that and you can look at the example, the edit that I made with this. And in that one, you'll notice that what I did is rather than just cutting from one angle to the other. I messed around with some of these composite and opacity modes. So for example, you can have add and then change the opacity to how much you want. And so this is how I combined that edit. Now I'm not doing it exactly how I did it then, but you can go to that video and check it out and see how it came out. I'll dedicate a whole video about that. We have 10 minutes to finish this checklist. Okay, we gotta look at the basic color correction, the color tab. So we're gonna look at adjusting the exposure with the lift, gamma, and gain wheels. So what are those? So let's go back to Resolve. Here I've saved my project. So let's say you did your rough cut. You know, mine is not finished, obviously, but we have no time. You can go to the color page. I skipped this Fusion page, and here you are, once again with the preview window in the middle. On the right side, we have these things called nodes. So think of this as like the in point and then the out point. So the output and the input of your image. And these nodes are, I guess, like windows or opportunities to change settings individually. So I could have multiple ones. So I can add another node, which then lets me do an adjustment in one node and a different adjustment in another. And I can either deactivate them or delete them without deleting all the other corrections. So let's look at some simple ones. Here at the bottom under wheels, I'm in the primary wheels, and this is where I can adjust like the lift. So I can bring some of those dark areas up a little bit for a more like film cinematic look. But I also want to bring down the gamma a little bit, but maybe also bring up the gain. By the way, if you're not seeing your scopes right here, it's a good way to click this scopes and look at, and you can change between like parade, which shows you the RGB forms, or like a waveform, which combines them all. You also have vector scope and histogram. So if you're not familiar with these, maybe I'll dedicate another video kind of explaining how to use these, but essentially they help you see the color, the true color information, rather than whatever the screen that you're looking at is showing you, because your eyes might be adjusting to the different color temperature in the room and the brightness, or your screen might be old or new or made by LG or Sony, and they're all going to be a little bit different. So the scopes sort of give you a more accurate read. It's no different than if you saw like the audio level meter. It gave you like a -5 dB. You would know what exact level it is, rather than just basing it off your ear. All right, enough of vector scopes because we have no time. We have less than 8 minutes. So let's look at our checklist. Lift, gamma, gain. Great, let's look at those. So we did adjust those. Now we made those adjustments to this clip only. And if you remember, we made a bunch of cuts. So what I can do is, this one is not corrected, but this one is. I can, while it's selected, I can command copy and just paste it to the other clips. Great. So now they're all the same. And of course, if you make now a new adjustment in one of them, you're not doing them to all. So I'm just going to undo that. What you can do is put them into a group, or you can also change sort of the timeline edit, but I'll leave it there for now. There's plenty of tutorials out there that you can go look. Let's just quickly look at the camera A, and maybe for this one, let's look at our checklist. Maybe the temperature and the tint and the contrast and saturation. So those are also going to be here. So you can adjust to warmer or cooler light. You can double click to reset. You can change the tint. And it's fun to play around with these just to learn what they do and how they affect your image. Maybe I want to add some detail. And maybe I want to adjust the highlights. And maybe I want to make it black and white. Maybe my camera A is black and white and I can take away all the saturation. And that's the picture that I get. So I don't really like that. Let's reset. In fact, I want to make it a little bit more saturated, have punchy colors. Let's do that. And like I said, use the scopes and the waveforms to monitor the levels accurately. And we copied our grade across the clip. So I think everything's graded. And, one is very saturated, the other one is not, but it's okay. You get the point. This is all up to you. There's no right way to do it. And we have 5 minutes left. We have a couple more things to get through. So let's look at the audio mastering, and we'll normalize the audio levels to -1 dB. Whoa, I'm running out of time. Okay, so we're in the Fairlight page. Here's where you can see mostly the audio tracks. So I don't need to see audio 1 or audio 2, but I am gonna look at the main mix, unlock it. Okay, so up here is where you can take a look at the loudness and the metering. And what I like to set it to is absolute scale. Now, this is set to -23, and YouTube recommends that you don't pass the threshold of -14. So that's sort of your target peak loudness. The way to change that so that your meters say or show you -14 is you go to the project settings, and on their Fairlight, the target loudness level here for audio metering, you can change to 14. So now my meter, when I play music, is going to be set to -14. This is where I can accurately monitor the level of the mix. So obviously there's different places where you can change it. You can change the level here. You can double click to reset, but you can also change the level here. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. And I can tell that the mix was pretty even. I think I had some compression running while I was mixing the Tractor Maximizer. I have 4 minutes left. So this is pretty good. I think the only thing we forgot earlier was to make a nice little fade in just for the beginning. And then you hear the music come in. Great. So we love this. We're going to save this and continue to the next. We can use an EQ to roll some low end and apply some compression. So those are you're going to find over here in the mixer section. So you have dynamics here for compressor. You can turn that on, set your threshold. Maybe right now it's hard to tell because we're only listening to the quiet part. But there we can have some compression, some makeup gain. Okay, maybe we like that. I don't think it was needed, but it's just as an example. And here we can do some EQ too. Change the dynamics. Maybe you want to make it a little brighter. And maybe a low pass. Great, but I usually don't mess around with this too much because I want to keep the music true to itself. And I have 3 minutes left to finish this tutorial. We've monitored the peak loudness to -14, and we've adjusted the gain. So we did mix and master our audio. Let's look at the export page. We have 2.5 minutes left. The last page is the export page. So on the left side is where you can change all the different settings. And at the top, there are some templates. If you want a high quality video that's also somewhat compressed, you can choose H.264. That just refers to the codec in which it's compressed. You can choose the file name here. So you can do new mix. Now, since we're talking about YouTube, you can also use the YouTube preset. So you can set it there to 1080, and you see that it doesn't have all the features, but it's good enough. This is going to be a smaller file size. I have less than 2 minutes. So here we can choose the location. So I'm going to go to that folder. Where did I go? Here, YouTube, new mix, and maybe we make a renders folder. 1.5 minutes left. Okay, and here you can just take a look at some of the things like resolution. The frame rate is the same as the timeline frame rate. It's going to be an MP4 file rather than a QuickTime file. I like that. And the video codec, as I said before, is H.264. And since we mastered our audio, I'm not going to hit normalize audio because I already know it sounds how I want it to sound. So none of these settings will be applied. And I can just, one thing to make sure is you have the option to render the entire timeline or the in and out range. I'm going to do in and out range since we changed the endpoint. And once I'm good with all that, I can add to render in the queue, and you'll see the job up here. So you can add multiple ones and then render them all at the same time. So with 30 seconds left, I can render and watch it go. And let's see what we did. So we selected, we chose the file name and location, 24 seconds left, and we chose the export settings with the in and out, and we added to the queue and we rendered. And with that, my friends, with 10 seconds left, let me just talk to you about the final steps. You finished your video edit. I would make sure to watch it on QuickTime or whatever it is. Watch it, enjoy it, see if there's anything that you missed or you wanted to adjust that you maybe forgot. But once you feel good, I would make sure to back it up. Then you can upload it to YouTube. Make sure you choose a compelling title. By the way, the thumbnail needs to be a 720p file. So if you're gonna upload something by yourself, it has to be small 720p. And write a nice description and your tag list so viewers can find your video and can enjoy it. Wow, we did it. I think my girlfriend is about to walk in. So I hope this helped. I want to see your first videos. Look, it may seem overwhelming, but just jump in there, use the guide, use this video, and hopefully you get to edit your first DJ video very soon. This is the DJ Video Lab, where DJs learn how to make better and unique videos.